Hard work. Hard work. Work.
There you go.
Forward.
Hard work.
Hard work.
Hard work.
Hard work. Hard work. Work.
There you go.
Forward.
Hard work.
Hard work.
Hard work.
Hard work. Hard work. Work.
There you go.
Forward.
Hard work.
Hard work.
Hard work.
Fall in. Hey, what's going on, fam? What's going on, high speeds? Yes, everyone out there, you know what it is. It's me, your boy Trey. You're rocking with your favorite vet on the net. First formation morning sports talk. So get ready to fall in as we get to it. What's been popping over the last couple of days? As y'all know, I'm still kind of like getting situated, slowly but surely. But at some point, we'll be up and running like we never left before. But until then, we're going to tap in when we can. So first and foremost, we know it's a whole bunch of going on in state, MLB, WNBA, NBA is getting started, NFL, NCAA, football, and soon to be basketball, all popping off. So plenty to talk about. First and foremost, unfortunately, having to talk about this for the most part. In the military, that too, military basketball, which I'll get to shortly. But of course, last week, Major League Baseball has been added as they look to get back into it. The World Series, in which 3 of 4 teams had over 100 wins in Major League Baseball this year, and we're in the playoffs. Currently, none of those teams sit in the playoffs. Oh, I think one. No, they just been dismal. Out of those 3 teams, they put together and compiled a 1-9 victory in this year's playoffs. Dodgers out of there. Taken out by the Arizona Diamondbacks. Atlanta Braves out of there. Dispatched last night by the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, for me, the hate is real. I need the Astros to lose. We do not need the Astros to win another World Series. Let's get them out of there. It's going to definitely, and it's even worse, the simple fact that there's guaranteed to be a Texas-based team in the World Series. Whether it be Arlington or Houston, there's going to be a Texas team in the World Series. There's no way around that now. So what I would like is for the Texas Rangers to take care of business, get the Houston Astros out the playoffs, and then Philly or Arizona handle business and knock them off. I guess I say Philly, although I have a little bit of a disdain for Philadelphia teams, but I think it's the better. I just can't see myself cheering for a National League team in the Western Division after USUP and took my team out. It's just not going to happen. But of course, like you're saying, the Rangers will be playing against the Astros in the division championships. And then, of course, the Phillies playing against the Diamondbacks in theirs. That would determine who goes to the World Series to compete. I really dislike this 5-game series for these for the first 2 rounds. But I mean, the Dodgers were swept. I don't know, was it an opportunity or a chance they would have came back from a 3-0 deficit if it was a 7-game. So I guess it just stopped the bleeding early and took them out. But hopefully we come back with a bit of urgency next year, get some more pieces in place, get some better pitching, because obviously relying on Clayton Kershaw isn't the lick anymore. Let's just get it together. But in case, tomorrow on Sunday night, first game, Astros and Rangers for their Game 1 series. Um, and then Monday will be addition to the Game 2 will be the addition of Game 1 for the Diamondbacks and Phillies in their for their Series 1. So MLB coming just a couple of weeks before we're going to be done with that. Additionally, the WNBA is popping off. If you ain't been paying attention, I'm very sure you're hearing it. Aces and the Liberty basically was on a crash course from the beginning of since the off season as they put together some pretty impressive line rosters and making their way. Game 1 was, of course, was played last Sunday, in which the Aces were able to enact a win, a 17-point win. I think 17 points. But you would have probably thought it would have been a little bit different for Game 2. Not so fast, my friend. The Aces came out blistering. So what you have learned, or if you pay attention, is do not omit the likes of Aja Wilson from receiving Player of the Year, because when she doesn't get Player of the Year, and then you have to sit up and face her in the playoffs, it does not end well. Of course, Game 2 was played on Wednesday, and Liberty was not ready. Aces with a 104-76 victory, 28-point drubbing at that point. Now, next game, potentially a game closer will be played on Sunday as they travel to New York to take on the Liberty on their home court. Maybe the Liberty turn things around. Maybe they get 2 on their home court to where it has to go back to Las Vegas for the last and decisive win, making it a series. Or do they just go and fall over, roll over, and nothing happens? And basically, the Aces becomes the first back-to-back WNBA champion since 2000, I think 2002 or something like that. Last done by the Sparks. So, of course, WNBA action, Major League Baseball action is all there. Be sure to tap in when you can, where you can, if possible. So, getting into the NBA. So what we have here, I haven't really unpackaged it yet. I plan to look at it over the weekend, of course, with some other stuff, which I got to take a look at. And come back most likely on Monday and discuss this whole thing. I know there has been some hoopla and conversation in reference to things in the sorts such as Dame Dash and not Dame Dash, Kyrie Irving have been upset that he was in the top 25, but outside of the top 20 when I think, or something like that, when it came to him being named in the top 100 NBA players. Not too satisfied was he. So over this weekend, I'm going to take a little in-depth look and come back and look at, and we're going to discuss it a little bit. The ESPN's ranking for the top players in the NBA. Of course, for the most part, we know of the younger generation, i.e., Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I would even say possibly Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. As I said, I have not looked at the top at minimum top 10. Luka Doncic of those sorts, and then you have the older ones, i.e., LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, that I'm sure are in the top 25. Top 10. And additionally, probably Jason Tatum. He's probably there too. Excuse me. So we'll take a look at that and we'll discuss it. I'll take a look at the rankings. Of course, they already have 100 to 51, and then of course 50 through 11. And I believe the top 20 have came out. Top 10 have came out, in which you get a chance to take a look at. However, I see Dylan Brooks is up to his same old antics as the NBA has fined him $25,000 for his contact, inappropriate, illegal contact, whatever, on Daniel Theis during their exhibition game a couple of nights ago, as Dylan was coming off of going around a screen or a pick, he tended to do a little more action than necessary. Looks like an uppercut to what is the groin region, nether region of Daniel Theis, which caused him to collapse for just a short time frame. Unnecessary unless there was something going on that we didn't see. I don't get it. Dylan Brooks, or maybe he just chose Sykes to be the one to sit up and act. They continue to act his bad guy role on to send a message to the league. I guess. I don't know. But Dylan's going to find himself in a bad sorts if he continues with the antics, I'm sure. Other news, of course, Miles Bridges. Come on, bruh. Allegedly attacked a car with his kids in it. As we know, Bridges was out last year. It was potentially pending some jail time as he was dealt with a situation in which he was charged with assault in reference to attacking the mother of his children, in which a 10-year protective order was issued for that court case. He kind of got off easy, honestly, when you look at it, in my opinion. But I guess things just doesn't resonate, in which a arrest warrant was issued for Mr. Bridges for the Charlotte Hornets, in which he was basically in violation of that protective order, as this allegation is that he smashed the windshield of his kid's mother's vehicle. So that is not going to be a good thing when it comes down to that. Miles Bridges got to get together, bro. I guess, saying everyone has their issues or problems, but got to get together. I don't want to sit up because, your problems aren't my problems and my problems aren't your problems, I'm sure. But as an aspect, as an individual, all of us has free reign over our mentality, unless facing some mental issues, but for the most part, we all have an opportunity to kind of like make the decisions. And brother, you're making some horrible decisions at this point. A little emphasis being put out there. The NBA is really emphasizing the fact that the league schedule is 82 games. They need all the players to get in the mindset that the league is 82 games regardless, no matter what. Because what is going on is there has been a study that was conducted, and of course, Jomu Dumars and his team have came to the conclusion that resting players, particularly on back-to-backs and things of that nature, do not guarantee there will be a lack of injuries or anything of that sort. There's no data. The data doesn't support it. The data does support that the fact that the player may be a bit inefficient for the second game. However, it does not allude that they could avoid having injuries or things of that nature per the resting period. So one thing, of course, that has been acted, there's a policy that was passed with this CBA that came up, in which the players who have won honors as well as NBA MVP awards and things of that nature must play a 65 at minimum 65 games to even be considered for the award in that following season. Now, at this point, maybe someone might feel like they're being rested is a little more conducive to them and gives a damn about that award. I'm very sure there goes a whole strategy into it. I'm sure that they're going to continue, if it is that necessary or people just want to buck the system. League teams are going to find ways to get around it if they can, or try to play the system. Additionally, if they don't comply, of course, there are fines to be ensued. There's a whole fine package that's out there. So players got to get with the program. The fact of players being rested on back-to-backs, especially from my understanding, it happened a couple of times the last couple of years to where habitual line steppers have been the Golden State Warriors and the Denver Nuggets, as they have went forth and have not and did things like rested the likes of Steph Curry or Nikola Jokic on the back-to-back road games, in which players or people pay their money to see certain players, and it could be nothing more deflating than paying your money for a Atlanta Hawks versus the Golden State Warriors when you have all these kids that want to see Steph Curry or Chris Paul or Andrew Wiggins, but none of those players are on the floor due to a resting protocol in which they're taken up. So got to be able to prove that it's an injury. If there's no injury, they need to be on the floor. So, of course, we're going to see how that continues to unravel during the season. We're going to see who brings the breaks first, the leagues, organizations, and the player, and we are going from there. Last but not least, of course, or not, I can say last at least, two things from a fact of the matter. As we all know about the warring or situations going on in Gaza, Israel as and Iran, not Iran, and Palestine. The Israeli team is still continuing their tour as it aims to deliver some type of hope, and it's going to continue on with their NBA tour as the Israeli national team is due to play against. I think it's the Brooklyn Nets in a couple of days. Israel basically sees that it's bigger than basketball, and they need to bring some type of awareness to what's going on. As that warring continues on, of course, as you know, the Hamas militant group, I guess you could say, was enacted a form of war, I guess you could say, on Saturday as they attacked a festival that was near Gaza over the weekend, in which Israel responded with a overwhelming force. Allegedly, now it's being looked at, seen as low enough to basically get ready to start a ground force going into Gaza. So a lot of things going on as far as, and so the Israel team decides to continue with their game plan to go ahead and play their games on their tour. Just praying that their family member, everyone is going to be safe and they're not going to have anything to worry about. So bigger than basketball is a moniker in that case. Last but not least, the Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Milwaukee Bucks, Damian Lillard and company are already and set to face off against the Lakers for their beginning of their season. They're looking at, they're saying they're excited. We're going to see how this pans out. Like I said, in my opinion, even though they have built a better roster since then, but in my opinion, out of the three teams in that trade, I felt that the Milwaukee Bucks were the least. But I'm starting to see a little bit different now. Things are changing and moving around. A lot of moves have been made. So we're going to see. Of course, it's an 82-game season. It's not going to be won in the first 10 games of the year. So it's going to be overtime. So we'll see how it all pans out. And then, of course, as we know, just because you get to the number one seed or make it through in the top 60 doesn't necessarily mean that you can't be knocked off or knocked out and put on the shelf and have to wait for the rest of the year to play out. So what we have is week 6, I believe, of what's going on, sis? What's going on, TT? Happy Friday to you. I hope you're enjoying your morning so far. Glad to have you formation with me this morning. So a lot's going on in NCAA. Of course, I foresee potentially there's going to be some change when it comes down to the NCAA. As now you're looking at Deion Sanders has come on and caused the late start times the stupidest thing ever, where it comes down to him and the in his game and the games that they're played. So now Deion Sanders has been in the Pac-12 for just 1 year, not even 1 year yet. It's just as many games, 4 or 5 games, as they're currently 3-2, 1-2 in the Pac-12. So in that time frame, Deion Sanders looks at it as like, I can't. Of course, he's quoting saying that he can't. He's glad that the Pac-12 is that the Colorado Buffaloes are moving back to the Big Ten, and that there will be more conducive times, that it won't be all these late games for the most part. As we know, the Pac-12 is most likely going to be dissolved. There's only 2 teams that remain in the Pac-12 currently, that being the Oregon State Beavers and the Washington State Cougars, unless they go ahead and, 1, bring in teams to reform the Pac-12, or 2, send those 2 teams out, and it definitely and it just completely and utterly annihilates the Pac-12. So Deion Sanders basically talks about these late start times in Texas. You look at it, I know during the Colorado State game, that game started at 8 p.m. Mountain time and lasted well within up until the wee hours of the morning. I watched the game in its entirety. I didn't go to bed till about 1 o'clock in the morning, in which tonight, Stanford and the Colorado will be facing off. Target time is at around 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And so you can basically deduct that if the game goes into overtime, it's going to be another 1 o'clock in the morning game. If you're watching the Colorado Buffaloes play, as they look to inch a little bit closer. As you know, you only need 6 games to be bowl eligible in the NCAA, in which there's some teams that are vying to invite the Colorado Colorado Buffaloes to their bowl game to be able to pull in the money, and hopefully people will want to see the Buffaloes play. So, of course, you continue to keep an eye on that and other aspects of it. There's a couple of top 25 teams that's going to be playing this coming weekend. Some against one another. That's going to basically put on some type of cause anything. Of course, number 10 USC will be facing off at number 21 Notre Dame. Both teams currently bowl eligible, so that's not a problem. Well, no, USC is bowl eligible. Notre Dame needs one more victory to become bowl eligible, in which I don't foresee it happening, versus the Trojans. But they will have a 6:30 kickoff on NBC and Peacock. The number 1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs will be hosted at Vanderbilt. The number 2 ranked Michigan Wolverines will be hosting Indiana, the Hoosiers, for this week. The 3rd ranked Ohio State Buckeyes will be facing off against Purdue in Purdue's home on Purdue's home field. We'll see, do we get to see the Boilermakers or last year's version of the Spoilermakers as they get ready to face off? Can we see a possible upset? 4th ranked Florida State will be taking on Syracuse, a battle in the ACC. Currently, Florida State is 3-0 in the conference. Although Syracuse has a good record, 4-2, 2 of the losses came in their conference, in which they are currently 0-2. 11th ranked Alabama will be facing off against Arkansas on ESPN at 11 a.m. Cal comes in playing against 16th ranked Utah in Utah. 6th ranked Penn State will be hosting Massachusetts. The 7th ranked Washington Huskies will be facing off against a similar foe in the Pac-12. 8th ranked Oregon, both teams undefeated. Whether basically someone has to lose and it's going to force someone into oblivious fall in the top 25. As we know, as stated, 7 and 8, both teams are in the top 10. One loss to one of them is going to basically knock them out the top 10. And then the other one's going to continue to move up the ranks. 19th ranked Tennessee will be facing off against Texas A&M. 23rd ranked Kansas will face off against Oklahoma State. 14th ranked Louisville will be taking on Pittsburgh. 19th ranked Washington State has a battle with Arizona. 22nd ranked LSU faces off against Auburn. The 12th ranked North Carolina Tar Heels will be facing off against the 25th ranked Miami Hurricanes. Interestingly enough, Miami still in the top 25 after losing to Georgia Tech over the last weekend. 24th ranked Kentucky will be facing off against Missouri. Battle 5, both teams 5-1. In which I foresee a win for Missouri can basically put them back in the top 25. And, of course, Kentucky will most likely and definitely fall out. 17th ranked Duke will be knocking on the door of North Carolina State. And, of course, for the top 25, last game to be played, or one of few games to be played. UCLA, who is 18th, ranked 18th in the country, will be traveling to Oregon State to take on the 15th ranked Oregon State Beavers as they continue to battle in the Pac-12. So, of course, those are your top 25 games coming up this week. Some games have some implication on who continues to move around in the top 25. Also putting themselves in position, a jockey position within their conferences to get into being one of the top 2 teams, so that way they can play for their championship and potentially put themselves in place to be in a big time bowl game or the CFP. We continue to see that, as we know this is supposedly the last year for the CFP and its current format, although the expectation is that they're going to shelve what they thought to be the next format due to the fact of all the jostling and moving around of the teams. It may not have a need, or they continue with adding more teams into the playoffs picture, but just have to determine how they're going to be selected. So, of course, more to come in that aspect. So, additionally, NFL, last night there was a game, Thursday night football, in which some of these Thursday night footballs are whack as hell, but they still go on. It's still a part of scheduling. As the week week 7 kicks off for the NBA, and week 6 kicks off for the NBA, in which it put the Denver Broncos to pull up in Kansas City at Arrowhead Stadium and have their game. And it was a lackluster game. So I'm starting to wonder, was it the offense that was built for Russell Wilson in Seattle? Was it the personnel? What was it? Because Russell Wilson, since moving to the NFC West, since moving to the AFC West from the NFC West, has only amounted 4 out of 20 wins. Last night being his 16th loss since making that move. So currently, last year they won 13 games, going 13-3. Of course, unfortunately, one of those games were against the 49ers. And then last night they take on another L with Russell Wilson against Patrick Mahomes. Russell Wilson, 13 for 22 for a mere 95 yards. Now, keep in mind, this is the first time in Russell Wilson's 12-year career in which he has amounted less than 100 yards passing and 2 interceptions, although one interception was not his fault. A tip at the line, or a tip that caused the ball to ricochet into the air, and was an easy catch for a upcoming linebacker. 4 sacks for 13 yards loss. Javonte Williams, 10 carries, 52 yards on the night. Russell Wilson did get 4 carries himself, in which he enacted 31 yards. Jaleel McLaughlin, 7 carries for 30 yards. And Michael Burton carried the ball 2 times for 2 yards, amounting 23 carries for 115 yards. Not that bad when you look at that, right? Just a little under 5.5 yards or 4.4 yards a carry. Receiving end, Cortland Sutton, 4 carries for 46 yards and 1 touchdown late in the fourth quarter, as it was actually a pretty good grab, in which they had to go through a challenge in which it was clear and concise that the ball was secure and it was a touchdown, but they go through and do what they got to do. Samaje Perine, 2 receptions for 16 yards, although 2 receptions for 16 yards. Jerry Jeudy, 3 receptions for 14 yards on 5 targets. Jaleel McLaughlin, 2 for 12 on his 2. Adam Troutman was 1 for 4 on 2 targets. Greg Dulcich, 1 for 3 in his 2 targets, which of course amounted to 13 receptions, 95 yards, and 1 touchdown on the night. On the other side of the spectrum, Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes put up 40 attempts, 30 completions, 306 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 2 sacks for 13 yards. Isaac Pacheco toted the rock 16 times for 62 yards. Patrick added 6 carries for 31 yards himself. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was in the game a couple of times in spelling Pacheco, 2 carries for 7 yards. Noah Gray was 1 for 1, and Kadarius Toney in the rounds 2 carries for -5 yards. Enacted 27 carries, 96 yards, less than 100 yards rushing. However, that 306 yards helped. Travis Kelce last night putting on a clinic, 9 receptions for 124 yards, did not drop a single pass. However, he did not put in any touchdowns. So for those fantasy players out there, wasn't bad. 23 points roughly. Rashee Rice, 4 receptions, 72 yards. Isaac Pacheco was 6 for 36. Sky Moore, 2 for 22 himself. Ja'Carrick McKinnon, 3 for 20 on 5 targets. Noah Gray was 2 for 14. Kadarius Toney, 3 for 9 and a touchdown. The only lone touchdown for the Kansas City Chiefs. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 1 for 9. And that's where it basically ends off. Samaje Perine did have a fumble, which was enacted by himself. He basically kneed the ball out his own arms, in which basically shut down any chance for the Broncos putting themselves in position to be within one score, come back and possibly kick an onside kick to try to get the ball back to be able to kick a field goal to tie it. So basically that ended the drive. Kansas City went ahead and basically victory formation after turnover on downs. And of course you have the 19-8 victory. So now what is going on is the Denver Broncos have decided to have a fire sale. Everyone is up for grabs, already looking to get rid of linebacker, defensive end Clark that they obtained for the Kansas City Chiefs last year, since he couldn't come to an agreement for the deal. He's been with the Broncos, in which he was out last year with the injury. He's currently in which he's only played 2 games since being a Bronco. Last night, he missed the game as he was stated to have an illness. So at this point, he's already restructured his contract to be giving back just under $1.8 million to make it probably more feasible for them to be able, as you already know, they just removed a pass rusher and Taco Charlton, who is now a San Francisco 49er. Clark is the next one on the docket that they're seemingly trying to move. Then we're going to basically see how this all plays out as they're having a fire sale. Everyone's up for grabs for the most part. Judy, Cortland Sutton, all of them are currently seemingly available. For I'm very sure they're just not going to give up anything, but they are looking to get rid of some players as they basically, I guess, has had enough. The brass is looking at like, we've got to make something happen. And getting rid of some players and bringing in possibly some new stuff is going to be what they're going for. Of course, as I said, week 6 is going down. First and foremost, going down early Sunday morning, the Baltimore Ravens will be facing off against the Tennessee Titans. Of course, both Ravens currently 3-2, Titans 2-3. The opportunity to even go under a little bit further, under 500 for one team. Both teams to be 500, or the other team to be over 2 games over 500 themselves. In this game, when I look at it, as much as I like to go with the Titans, because I just think for whatever reason that the Baltimore Ravens continue to go backwards, I just can't buy into that. I feel that the first time I go against the Ravens is going to be the time in which it doesn't go well for me. So in this particular game, this early morning game, as they will be playing in London, I'm going to rock with the Baltimore Ravens to get the victory. Next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons and the Washington Commanders in Atlanta. So at the beginning of the season, I stated that I believe that the New Orleans Saints were going to run away with the NFC South. And then the Falcons came out and showed like we're a team here. They're already 3-0 at home, which means the only two games that they lost have been away. They're playing at home. The Commanders are 1-1 in away. Could be iffy at times. It was I had high hopes for the Commanders. I think I believe they're going to finish third in the NFC East. So in this game, with all that being said, I think I'm going to still stick with Sam Howell and the Washington Commanders to get this victory, to put them at 3-500 on the year. The Falcons, I just don't know what to say yet. I don't know about Desmond Ridder completely. Drake London, if he's going to show up for the game. Kyle Pitts, what he's going to be doing, if he's going to be able to put it together. I watched some clips from one of the games where it showed that Kyle Pitts has just not been effective. And it's like all that from me. It gives me Vernon Davis vibes when I look at Kyle Pitts. It gives me Vernon Davis vibe. All that speed and the abilities from the tight end position. And yet you can't make it work while you look at other tight ends that have less, do more. So, you know what I'm saying? Maybe you got to go to some of them tight end celebration weeks and get your weight up. But I'm going Washington Commanders over the Atlanta Falcons for this one. Vikings and the Bears. This is a hella hard one. The Bears currently are 0-2 at home. The Vikings are 1-1 away. Both teams 1-4. Although the Chicago Bears have been coming on pretty strong lately. They set up and was in a battle with the Denver Broncos that basically showed that they had some fight in them. And then they came back the following week on a Thursday night and took care of business with the Tampa Bay, with the Washington Commanders, and basically willed themselves to a win in that series, giving them a first win of the year. And now they face off against a ailing Minnesota Vikings that will be without their wide receivers in Justin Jefferson. The opportunity for Jordan Atkinson to go ahead and show that he can be a star in this league because he's most likely going to be their go-to. But I just don't know. Maybe I go with the Bears due to the fact of that is the NFL flag team, which I coach every Sunday. It's like a coin flip. So I will go with that. I'm rocking with the Chicago Bears over the Vikings for this game. In other games, other action coming up, the Seattle Seahawks will be facing off against the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati, in which I kind of believe in the Seahawks. I'm not going to even hold you. Currently 3-1, 2-0 away. The Bengals have been kind of like going back and forth. I don't know what Justin Burrow you going to get. They're currently 1-1 at home. So I think I'm going to go with the brethren in the NFC West. I'm going to rock with the Seattle Seahawks, although I don't want to. Although I do need Burrow to have a game because he's in my fantasy league as one of my starting quarterbacks. So I would like to appreciate him to be somewhat efficient. But instead, I think Cincinnati, without the likes of a couple of their receivers, is going to be hard pressed. Jamar Chase can't enact another game from last week, 3-touchdown game. Continuously night in, night out, or week in, week out. So I think this is where they have a little fall back to the earth, and Seattle might catch them slipping. Dolphins face off against the Panthers, a game for an opportunity for the Panthers to get their first win of the year. They're traveling to Miami. Miami currently 4-1 on the year with 2-0 at home. I think they continue with that 2-0 record, although they're not with their hot start rookie running back, Arcane, as he is out for a couple of weeks. But I think they do get Jeff Wilson back with the forms of Mossert. So they may be in position where they don't miss a beat or just get a little more stronger. But in any case, I'm rocking with the Dolphins as the one to get the victory. Unfortunately for Bryce Young to continue down the road of a team yet to win, as his brethren, other players in which they came in with, i.e. Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud, both have victories. Stroud has 2 victories, actually. I think Richardson has 1 or 2 himself. So Bryce Young, number one, isn't always what it's cracked up to be. But I digress. Next up, the aforementioned Indianapolis Colts and the Jacksonville Jaguars. As stated, the Colts and Anthony Richardson currently a 3-2 team. However, Richardson will not be at the helm as he's dealing with injuries, I believe. Still injured in almost every game except for the one game in which he can play off due to an injury. The Colts will be facing off against the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence. This is another one of those games where it's like, what do you get in the case? Of course, we know Jonathan Taylor back in the fold with the Colts, although Zach Moss is currently the running back for them as Taylor continues to go on. I think he's going to be slowly but surely added back into the lineup. So I guess not until he has a blowout game is when they're going to be like, all right, we're taking the cuffs off. They're going to let him get his game. Wait until I see that, and after Richardson's back, I'm going to rock with the Jacksonville Jaguars and Sunshine to see what they get, what they can enact. Travis Etienne, Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, Marvin Jones. I think Jaguars can get the victory here. So I'm rocking with the Jags. Aforementioned again, the Houston Texans hosting the New Orleans Saints. So to all my Saints fans out there, I wonder, will we be seeing or will we be hearing? Would you be pulling up in Houston? I know a lot of y'all say in Houston. What it do, baby? If y'all going to be who that in H-Town, Texans hosting but I can't rock with Texas on this one. I think the Saints end up walking away with the victory and continue their trek up the standings to keep that hope alive for them to win the NFC South. Currently 2-1 in away games. Texans are 1-1 at home games. I just think this is going to be a little hard for CJ Stroud. Although I think Coach McRyan's are going to have them ready, I just don't think ready enough. I think the Texans get this victory Sunday. Patriots and the Raiders. So here we have a situation to where Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots come to visit his former protege in McDaniels in Las Vegas. Both teams under 500. An opportunity for one team to get back to 500, that one team being the Raiders, and that one team being where I go with. Of course, you got Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, Jacoby Myers, interestingly enough, who left New England to come to Las Vegas, in which he has been making noise, and which has left seemingly the Patriots in a world of hurt as they look to try to enact something with their receiving core. I really think that the Las Vegas Raiders can pull something out, and I'm going to rock with them to get the victory this weekend. A couple of other games, a few more games. The Arizona Cardinals face off against the Los Angeles Rams. As we know, the Triple Crown leader from a year ago, Cooper Kupp is back in the fray. Did all right last week to get the help. What they almost pulled out was the victory. But this week they're going to play against the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are going to be out a little sorts, already out without Connor, as he's out with the injury. James Conner, running back, puts him on the back end. I think the Rams are going to be victorious in this game. The New York Jets face off or hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. As much as I would like to see a upset in this game, so I can quell all those Eagle fly, and EAGLES, Eagles, and all that type of stuff. I want to hear some JETS, Jets over the course of the weekend. Let's make that happen. Let's go, Zach Wilson. Let's get it. I think the Eagles are going to win, though. But I won't be mad if I'm wrong and Jets pull off an upset. I'm with it. Let's see it happen so I can sit up and talk all day long. I even sit up and see if we can get our man Bishop on so he can sit up and give all the excuses. You know what? I might even try to sit up and tell him, let's go somewhere and check out the game. So that way I can sit up and record all the emotions that he's going to go through if the Eagles are being taxed. But this is less than likely. as I said, I think the Eagles get a dub on this one. 4 more games. Well, 3 more. I'm not going to go over one. The Detroit Lions, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, both teams looking pretty good. As the Buccaneers are the leader in the AFC South, AFC East. Correct. The NFC South. The Lions are a leader in the NFC North. Now they come and face off. Baker Mayfield making it happen. But as I had stated before, I guess I have a huge love for Detroit. Like, I've watched Detroit grow over the last couple of 4 years, and in my opinion, I just like they're coming. Detroit is coming. Detroit is coming. They, saying they're not the Detroit of old. Jared Goff is in there doing his thing. I was like, it's going down. So I'm going with Detroit even now. I'm going to continue to rock with Detroit on here. Let's see until David Montgomery has reestablished himself as a running back, even pushing the up-and-coming Jareer Gibbs seemingly to the back. Like, get back, young buck. I got this. I'm handling this. Jared Goff is making things happen. Even without his top receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown last week, he still was able to enact the dub. So I'm going to continue to roll with the Detroit Lions, although we know Baker Mayfield has 2 top-tier receivers in Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. All right, running back into Rashad White, but I just think the Lions are going to be going to get taken care of in Raymond James Stadium this weekend. Next up, I guess this is a no-brainer. Buffalo Bills facing off against the New York Giants, in which the Giants currently 1-4. Not looking good for Danny Dimes, still without Saquon Barkley, but is that really the reason? I think more so they don't have a true receiving core, and that tends to be a thorn in the side of the Giants. And then, of course, the lack of the running game, but if you had a core that was able to catch the ball, put pressure, and make them come off the line, then you wouldn't have to worry about trying to have a decent running game. Buffalo Bills end up getting the victory here. As we see, Stephon Diggs has been tearing up the midway, I guess you can say, and he wants more, looking to get more. Currently 3-2 for the Bucks, for the Bills. As you look at it, 2-1 in at home. Giants don't look to be a good away team. It seems like all the signs lined up for Bills victory. I'll go along with the Bills getting the victory over the New York Giants. And last but not least, of course, the San Francisco 49ers will be facing off against the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. So, although I would expect the 49ers to win, I expect the 49ers to win. I'm going with the 49ers, especially when you take into consideration Deshaun Watson is not going to be playing as he continues to deal with a shoulder injury. But that defense for the Browns is still prevalent. Myles Garrett is not to be played with. But in all honesty, my 49ers did just face off against another defense that was thought to be very potent against another player that is not to be played with, that one being Micah Parsons. And we did fairly all right. Not too much, not too many problems. So, in that being said, I think that we can fare well. Now, I don't think completely and utterly that we're going to basically be able to hold off Myles Garrett and company just all together. But I think they did put together a plan to hold off Michael Parsons, Leighton Vander Esch, Charlton, and all of them. And ideally, I think they're going to probably figure something out as well, a game plan to hold off Garrett and company. Although they did see what they did to Parsons, so of course that gives them an opportunity to kind of like enact something. But you never know. It's definitely going to be a chess match, but it's an opportunity for the 49ers to keep that 0 in the right slot and continue to show some type of dominance. I do think the Browns defense will give fits at some point, but I think in-state 49ers get opportunity to pull away. And I go with the 49ers for this game. Of course, I'm not going to go over the Monday night game. That game, however, will be the Dallas Cowboys against this Los Angeles Chargers, as the Cowboys look to potentially get back on track, as does the Chargers. excuse me. One coming off a win the week before, the other coming off a huge loss, embarrassing loss last week. But I'll wait till Monday to give my to talk about that and give my take. Of course, the Green Bay Packers and Pittsburgh Steelers are in their bye this week, so you won't be seeing anything from them. But before I get out of here, right, tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock Central Standard Time, I will be having, of course, a weekend show, just briefly weekend show. Before I was saying, so to get the juices going as the military basketball community, we'll be having a another exposition game here in San Antonio as the Fort Sam Houston Rangers will be taking on the Fort Cavazos Phantom Warriors in METC Gym at 1 o'clock on Fort Sam Houston in JBSA Fort Sam Houston. Of course, let me get that right. So that game is at 1 o'clock. So I plan to pull up there. I don't have any games to officiate this weekend. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up there. But prior to that game, I plan to have on a couple of guests to talk about, I guess, some situations. I think one to talk about, to air something out, get some off the chest, maybe for one of them, in which I have to tap in with them, make sure exactly what it is. As I go forth, whenever I do shows and interviews and stuff like that, I never really go forth and talk to them because I want everything to be raw, emotional. I don't want it to be looked at that I have set up and have pitted loaded questions or set up questions to sit up and ask somebody. But everything is raw, uncut, unscripted. That's what I do. Never anything scripted for the most part. But we will be tapping in to talk to Deontay Claiborne and Coach Wayne Walcott. That have something to say in reference to military basketball. So we'll do to talk about it tomorrow morning. I guess a situation happened over the weekend at the Atlanta Classic between a coach who happens to be a part of the NBA. But one thing I want to point out is, and keep in perspective, is necessarily you can't necessarily knock organization due to the individual. So if there is anything that the individual did wrong, then it'll be an opportunity, I'm sure, if the individual would like to come on to sit up and talk about it. If he listens in tomorrow, if even ask, but what, of course, what we don't want, what I do not want to be seen as is a person that's, saying, keeps up tumultuous BS and, saying ongoing stuff. They're always looking to generate and bring people together. But I think tomorrow, as the names before I said, some probably believe that it's going to be some fireworks, but I think we're going to actually have a real cool conversation. All right. Hopefully, I hope that. I hope something comes from it, just as before. But as I continue to hear, like, there's conversations, things that have been talked about on the show, and then it doesn't. It's like if one thing is said here, but of course is enacted in all different types of ways. I try not to get into that unless it comes to the forefront and is brought up, but we will see how that all goes down. So, of course, like I said, be sure to tap in, set your alarms to get up early formation. To hear what they got to say. Of course, it'll be posted, and we'll go about it and see what we can get out of this conversation as it comes to military basketball. As we know, all services is going on right now. As you look, if you look up on social media, those players and coaches is going down. All Army camp going down. I think this week or it has just started. All Air Force camp is going down. Those are the men's side. The women's side is getting it cracking in Army and Air Force, Navy, Marines. Where you at? Tap in, holler at your boy. Let me know. Hit me up so we can set up a kid, because I would like to get in separate time frames men's coaches, women's coaches for all four armed forces to get it on there so they can talk about it. The conversation has basically been that Army has just arrived, and that the Air Force is the dominant one when it comes to all services. The Air Force is more proficient at it and efficient at it, that they're having down years. The Army has been dominant. So another conversation to be had. So I'm going to have to tap in with them to see what I can get them so we can have a whole conversation about this. All forces going down in a matter of weeks on the East Coast this time. If you've seen it before, SHAPE is back. SHAPE, that's overseas, in which they're inviting U.S. teams to come over to compete. So it's getting back to it. The year of the military athlete, the armed forces athlete. Y'all know what it is. It starts with, of course, basketball coming up. Joe Hall Classic getting ready to come down soon. We got national. At some point, we're going to start to see them rankings from the National Military Basketball Tournament. NBA action going to start getting started. As we all know, the Military Basketball Association has enacted their willpower and put it to where they're going to be televised. They're going down in Temple, Pennsylvania, to the University of Temple. So a lot going on. I think Worlds for softball has gone down or is getting ready to go down. It's plenty to go to talk about when you talk about the military soldier. But until tomorrow, Monday, you know what it is. It's your boy Trey the Commish, and I'll be looking out to holler at y'all. Be sure to tap in tomorrow. That's 9 a.m. 09 to my military-minded individuals going down. Coach Wayne Walcott. I guess you could player coach Deontay Claiborne tap in so we can I guess get some stuff off the chest and do that type. So that with the idea that we're going to basically get something from it. Like I said, I should be at the game. So if I'm pulling up there, I'm definitely going to probably have a live feed going on. Fort Cavazos versus Fort Sam Houston, JBSA Fort Sam Houston tomorrow. So be sure to tap in. Like I said, when you hear that, oh, work, you know what it is. Trade the commission. I'm out of here. Enjoy your weekend. Peace.